The airport was buzzing with travelers, but one moment froze the crowd. A well-dressed man, briefcase in hand, stood at the first-class counter. His name was David Carter, the CEO of a major global tech company. But to the airline staff, he was just another passenger. The clerk's forced smile vanished when she saw his ticket. "Sir, this line is for first class," she said sharply. David replied calmly, "I am flying first class." The murmurs began around him, people watching, whispering. Her tone grew firmer, almost dismissive. "I'm sorry, sir, but we can't allow you through. You must have made a mistake." David's eyes narrowed slightly. He knew what this was, not a mistake, but an assumption. He took a slow breath, refusing to react. Cameras from nearby phones started recording. Something in the air shifted. This wasn't just about a seat anymore. David stood still as others passed by. The clerk called for security, pretending he was causing trouble. The guard arrived, already judging before listening. "Sir, please step aside." The passengers watching could sense the tension, a quiet injustice unfolding in plain sight. David tried again, polite but firm. "My ticket, my name, and my ID, they're all valid." The clerk crossed her arms, refusing to look. "We'll double-check," she muttered, walking off with his passport. Minutes felt like hours. People stared, some in silence, others shaking their heads. David glanced at a little boy nearby who whispered to his mother, "Why won't they let him go?" The mother hesitated, not knowing how to answer. That moment broke something inside him, not anger, but deep disappointment. He wasn't just fighting for his seat anymore. He was standing for every quiet injustice that went unseen. When the manager arrived, the situation only worsened. He didn't ask questions, he only looked David up and down. "Sir, this area is reserved for premium passengers," he said coldly. David's patience thinned, but he kept his voice steady. "I am one." "Check again." The manager glanced at the system, paused, and said, "Our records show an error." But the truth was visible, there was no error. They simply didn't believe someone like him could belong there. David's phone buzzed, his assistant was calling about an investor meeting. He sighed, whispering, "Not now." But then he looked back at the staff and said quietly, "You really should confirm who I am before you continue this." The manager smirked, "And who might that be?" The tone was mocking, and that was the final push. David picked up his phone, dialed one number, and spoke 5 calm words that would change everything, "Put me through to the board." His voice was soft, yet it carried power. Within seconds, the airline's corporate line connected. "Yes, Mr. Carter," came a nervous tone. The clerk and manager froze. They hadn't expected that name to command such respect. David explained briefly, "I'm at your terminal being denied boarding, by your own staff." Silence filled the line, followed by panic. "We'll handle it immediately, sir." Within moments, phones started ringing across the airport. Supervisors rushed in. The clerk's confidence vanished as the regional director himself arrived, visibly shaken. "Mr. Carter, we deeply apologize. Please, allow us to escort you." But David didn't move. He looked around, at the crowd, at the phones still recording, at the staff whose faces turned pale. "No," he said quietly. "Apologies don't fix humiliation. Change does." His tone was calm but firm, and everyone could feel the shift. As the crowd watched, whispers turned into murmurs of support. A flight attendant quietly approached David, whispering, "I'm so sorry for what they did." He nodded, grateful but silent. The manager tried to speak again, but words stumbled. We didn't know," David interrupted softly, "didn't know what? That I could afford first class. Or that respect shouldn't depend on appearance." The question hung heavy in the air. The airline's higher-ups were now calling frantically, realizing the entire incident was being recorded and shared online. The videos were already spreading, headlines forming in real time. "Black CEO denied boarding first class." David simply gathered his briefcase and looked back one last time. Let this moment remind you, power doesn't always wear a label. But respect must always be earned. His voice carried across the terminal, echoing louder than any announcement. Later that evening, the news had spread across the world. Millions had watched the clip, the calm dignity of a man wronged, the silence of those who judge too quickly. The airline issued a public apology, suspending the employees involved. But David's phone was still buzzing with messages. Journalists, CEOs, even government officials, all wanted to speak with him. Yet David wasn't seeking revenge. He simply wanted awareness. He released a statement saying, "This isn't about me. It's about how we treat people when we think no one is watching." The words struck deep, shared across platforms and echoed in offices and homes. His story became a lesson, a mirror reflecting society's quiet biases. But for David, it wasn't victory, it was a reminder that equality still needed a voice. Weeks later, David was invited to speak at a global leadership summit. He stood on stage, the same calm presence, now admired by millions. "We all make assumptions," he began, "but what defines us is how we correct them." The crowd listened in silence. "I was denied a seat once," he continued, "not because I didn't earn it, but because someone couldn't see past my skin. But that moment taught me something: never let prejudice silence your purpose." Applause filled the hall. Cameras flashed, capturing not just a CEO, but a man who turned humiliation into hope. As he left the stage, a young worker from that same airline approached him tearfully. "You changed how we see people," she said. David smiled gently and replied, "No, I just reminded you how we should have seen them all along."